In the United Kingdom, England is now under an even stricter lockdown than before, with the new regulations imposed until the 2nd of December, this in an attempt to slow down the re-emergence of rapid infections of coronavirus. Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland have their own restrictions. Travellers from the UK and South Africa may unfortunately now be stranded. To discuss this, we are joined by the British High Commissioner to South Africa, Nigel Casey. High Commissioner, thank you. It's great to have you. Welcome to Morning Live.
Thank you. Good morning.
Before we talk about what we can learn from this, let's begin with South Africans who now may be stranded in the UK and those from the UK who need to get home. What is the process? What happens?
Well, there's no immediate problem, I don't think, because we as a government, the UK government, are not instructing or guiding any British nationals who are here in South Africa that they need to come home at the present time. We think as a prudent step, they should contact their airlines to make sure that the plans that they have to return to the UK in due course remain in place. But there's no need to rush to the airports. And it remains the case that there are flights from the UK to South Africa for any South Africans who wish to come home.
Yeah. So it's nothing like previously where there were no flights in and out, borders were closed and basically nobody could get home. So repatriation flights are not a necessity at this time. As far as you understand, no. You can still get out of the UK back to South Africa and out of South Africa back to the UK. Is that your understanding?
That is. It is still permissible for British citizens to leave the UK for essential purposes, which includes essential work purposes. We have introduced measures banning non-essential travel overseas from the UK. But and of course, South Africa itself has banned leisure visits from the UK to South Africa by putting the UK on its list of high-risk countries for tourism purposes. So there isn't currently any tourist traffic between our countries. There are some people who are moving for essential work or other personal purposes, but that's a relatively small number.
Yeah. Let's talk about what is going to be happening. I mean, we also understand that Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland also have new restrictions that have been put in place. They're not allowing anyone from England into their countries. What are the kind of rules that have now been put in place for the lockdown?
So the heart of the measures that have just been introduced today in England is about staying at home if at all possible. If you can work from home, you should work from home. And otherwise, you should restrict your time outside to the minimum necessary for shopping or exercise, and to reduce the risk at a time when infections in the UK are still rising much too fast. The big difference between these restrictions and what we experienced earlier in the year is that schools, universities and colleges remain open. That's very important. One of the conclusions from the early restrictions that we had in place was that it was putting a real strain on kids and those at universities and colleges. And so that's a big difference from what we had earlier.
Yeah. So I mean, it's basically, again, non-essential shops, hair salons, beauty parlours, all social venues, all of those kind of things, restaurants, bars. Is everything now shut? And this is obviously in a bid to stop the spread of coronavirus. What went wrong? How did it get to this level now? Because England is now in this 4-week hard lockdown.
Well, look, I think right from the beginning, the epidemiologists were telling us that the history of these viruses suggests that there will be more than one wave. And so in that sense, this is not a huge surprise, though it's very concerning. I think it's a warning against complacency elsewhere. I think, we had a couple of months in July and August this year, which felt rather similar to what South Africa is experiencing at the moment, where we had new infections at a rate of between several hundred and a couple of thousand tops per day. And then a lot of people took advantage of a slight relaxation in the rules, including to go on holiday. There's some evidence that people returning from holidays in Europe brought back the virus into the UK. We saw infection rates rising in countries like Spain and France ahead of what was happening in the UK. So I think it's a salutary lesson for everybody, really, about the need to stay vigilant and to keep the virus under control to avoid seeing what we're seeing, unfortunately, in the UK happen elsewhere.
Yeah, and this is something I imagine that the South Africans need to learn from, because we are a month away from our holiday season where people are going to start visiting different provinces and going on their vacations and then coming back into different villages and going home for the festive season. You know, it almost feels like the beginning of coronavirus, where we as South Africans were sitting on watching the rest of the world going through it. Then it calmed down for the rest of the world and we went up. And now we're calmed down and they're going up. So it's almost like we're looking into our future. I mean, what would you recommend? I'm not saying that you are any specialist in it, but you obviously have been working with the UK in terms of things that we should really put in place. What do you recommend to us?
Well, look, there aren't any easy answers here. I know the South African travel industry has put in place a series of protocols with the South African government designed to minimise the risks associated with travel. And it's a really important part of the South African economy. And it's one we're proud to support, being the largest source market for international travellers coming to visit South Africa every year. I think the factual position is that there will be significantly less international travel to South Africa over this South African summer season, because your main source markets in the UK, Germany, France, the US are not able to send tourists because of the high risk list restriction here. And so I suspect that means that the risks of the virus being introduced from overseas, as it seemed to be in February and March this year, are less. On the other hand, so what's happened in Europe has also reinforced the importance of not allowing the domestic infection rate to get out of control, because the virus hasn't gone away. When you're getting a positivity rate from testing of 8 or 9%, that means that the virus is still around and people still need to take it seriously. Very,
very much so. Nigel, on a closing note, there is obviously concerns about the economy, because economically people in the UK are just saying they cannot afford this lockdown. They say 4 weeks, but we were also told X amount of weeks and it went on for months, and it's in fact still in place in terms of a level 1 lockdown. How is the economy looking in the UK? Do you think it could withstand this?
Well, obviously, we are very concerned about the impact on the economy, but the way to minimise the impact on the economy is to get the virus under control and allow economic activity to resume as quickly as possible. There will be fewer restrictions on economic activity in this period of the next 4 weeks than there were earlier in the year. People are still encouraged to work. If they can't work from home, they are allowed to go to their workplaces. The public sector is still expected to turn up for work at their workplaces if that is where they need to be. And so the economy hasn't stopped. And the government's put in place very significant measures to support those who can't work and support businesses who are particularly affected by the virus and the measures we put in place through the next few weeks. We hope that by early December we'll be able to return to the pattern of regional restrictions rather than national ones.
All right, we leave it there. Nigel Casey, the British High Commissioner to South Africa, thank you very, very much for talking to us. Good luck, and we wish all your colleagues and, of course, family well in England as they go into a 4-week hard lockdown starting from today.